Welcome back to Let It Rip. Joining us now, David Derajotis, a cyber risk expert and chief insurance officer with Embroker. He says crypto still has an allure, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Dan Casey, a wealth manager with Bridge River Advisors, says we should all be weary about the crypto craze. And our own Charlie Langton, our legal expert and anchor as well, has invested heavily in, no, not crypto, but probably in caffeine, because the man doesn't sleep, and he's still with us here at this hour. And we, of course, always like it when you're here. Let's begin. Okay, for everyone watching right now, you may be going, wait a minute here, this whole crypto thing, I don't get it. And I would bargain to say the majority of you on your couch right now probably don't understand what crypto exactly is, but it's cryptocurrency, and it's been in the news a lot. Why? Because a guy named Sam Bankman-Fried is being charged with fraud, campaign law finances, all kinds of stuff with FTX, so that's one of the currencies. But first, David Derajotis, what is cryptocurrency, and why is Sam Bankman-Fried sitting in a prison in the Bahamas right now?
Yeah, well, we need to separate what Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX did versus what cryptocurrencies are. Crypto is a digital form of money. It's value that can be used to buy and sell goods, or it can be used as a form of investment. Think like gold, silver, something to that effect. So there's no two that are alike. Bitcoin is the reigning king, been around since 2009. What Sam Bankman-Fried did is more alike to the traditional financial system. You have one person or a few people that were controlling everything that was being done. You had outright criminal activity that was conspired. He has a number of charges against them, so I think it's important to not conflate the two.
Well, it's important then. Let's just talk, forget about Sam for a moment, and forget about FTX, and talk about things like Bitcoin. We know Elon Musk, back before he was doing the Twitter thing, was saying he was all about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
What is cryptocurrency? Are they, I mean, for those who don't know, they're not actual coins per se. It's backed on a blockchain. What does that mean?
Yeah, the blockchain, think of it as a digital ledger. It's a way of following transactions, storing transactions, information. It's an open ledger. Bitcoin is one particular, again, I mentioned the king of crypto, been around for the longest out of any other that's out there. You have to look at what's going on all over the world. Cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, you can even bifurcate those two. You take a country like El Salvador. Last year, they made Bitcoin legal tender. You look at some organizations across the U.S. are doing. Visa has partnerships in Bitcoin-related businesses, cards. You look at other organizations, Morgan Stanley, they offer their clients wealth management and investing in Bitcoin. We're seeing increased adoption, but I think Bitcoin is very different from what the rest of the crypto ecosystem is doing.
I want to bring Dan Casey into the fold. He brings up a good point. The United Nations, just as of this week, is saying, hey, we're going to transfer a special coin called USD coin, and we're going to help some of these folks in Ukraine who need food and need money in their bank, and these folks are exchanging that cryptocurrency for cash in Ukraine. So the United Nations is saying it's a thing and we should use it. What problem do you have with cryptocurrency in general?
So, and I'm old, so it's hard for me to understand, but it's like, even like my kids, they understand this whole digital currency thing very well. Like, they play Fortnite, they pay money for a skin, right, that they never get to touch and feel. So it's definitely something that's going to be adopted. And that the Ukraine thing, it boggles my mind how that can get that done. And that's, of course, causing tons of conspiracy theories, right, of how the U.S. is messing with our currency, and really that's how Bitcoin started, right? Because the Fed and the central bank started printing all this currency, and people are like, we need something better than what,
But is it backed with government money?
No,
So can I buy $1,000 of Bitcoin today? I can do that.
Well, you can, yes, but it's not backed by anything. That's why it's just supply and demand. That's why it's so volatile.
But some would say it's backed by the people who invest in it. And David Derajotis, right, you'll say there's this whole blockchain, which essentially is a a ledger that keeps track of me buying or Charlie buying or me selling. So there are people behind this, and that is who backs this investment, right?
Well, that's the big difference when you look at Bitcoin versus everything that's going on with FTX and SBF. So he was controlling it. It was centralized. It allows fraud, corruption to take place. Bitcoin is fully decentralized. And when you talk about what Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder, the anonymous founder of Bitcoin, the whole thesis behind it was giving power back to the people, financial freedom. There's no one institution or entity that controls it. The Bitcoin network is run by nodes all over the world, computers all over the world that keep the system propped up. There's no downtime. No one controls it. No one owns owns it. You have financial freedom with a currency like Bitcoin.
There's nothing scary about that at all.
Should Congress step in there and regulate this?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, why aren't they doing it?
Because they don't understand it half the time. Like the big audit firms aren't auditing these because they don't understand how a crypto exchange works.
But David, wouldn't you say that when Congress gets involved, the SEC gets involved, we get the government basically saying, hey, we want to help, that goes against the very ethos of the reason that all this started in the first place, right?
It does. I mean, you look at cryptocurrencies, they're censorship resistant, they're government resistant. Power to the people, the individuals to be able to control it. Now, if you look at what happened with FTX, what does it remind you of? Bernie Madoff, 2008, 2009. Regulation can't protect you from fraud like that. Bernie Madoff, that was a $65 billion fraud Ponzi scheme. You go back even a little bit further. You look at Enron, 2000, 2001. The stock price, trading at $90 a share. A year later, less than $1. They go bankrupt shortly after that. That's what prompted Sarbanes-Oxley, federal regulation, law, transparency around accounting practices. I think there does need to be some oversight. It needs to be done in the right manner. It can't be strangling, and it can't be authoritarian.
Can you use that as collateral to get a regular bank loan?
Absolutely, you can. You can, and that's what.
So banks are going to accept that as collateral to leverage a loan? Is that what's going on now?
Well, okay, look at JP Morgan, for instance. They just recently had approval for a trademark to have their own cryptocurrency wallet. They operate a blockchain. They have their own stablecoin. You talked about USDC. What that is it's back to the dollar. So you do have some cryptocurrencies that are called stable coins, and they are a 1-to-1 ratio with the US dollar.
Let's talk about the demographics of this, because this is important. Because look, here's the deal. Most of you are watching this on television. The people who are probably streaming us are probably younger, watching on your Roku TV or whatever you're doing on your phone or your thing. The average person who uses cryptocurrency is a Gen Z or a millennial. Average user is 38 years old. You think about a viable demographic, someone who spends their money, goes out and does things. I mean, Dan, at some point, we can't be the stodgy old guys sitting in these chairs saying, oh, that crypto is for the kids. We have to understand that it's real and it's here to stay, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And this volatility is just to be expected. With any asset that outperforms the S&P 500, it's going to be volatile. And since it started in 2010, S&P, about 277% over that 10-year period. You have any idea what Bitcoin grew over that 10-year period? Over 400,000%. So there's going to be some volatility there. It's a new asset.
And so when you take a look at this new asset and where it's headed, and you talk about regulation, David, I want to give you one of the last words here. Look, this is one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history, according to federal prosecutors. What happened with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. When you look at that, you know something has to happen. What's the balancing point of letting this happen and not letting it be the Wild West?
Yeah, there has to be greater oversight around money laundering, around transparency, where funds are going. I mean, essentially, FTX and Alameda Research, a sister company, they were just providing open lines of credit and money, taking customer funds and using it for whatever they want. Personal gains, purchasing real estate, whatever it may be, making campaign donations.
Other businesses.
That's exactly
it's money laundering, right?
It's money laundering.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. But that's not unique to the cryptocurrency industry. We see it in traditional finance as well. So I think there needs to be thoughtful oversight. They need to make sure that the transactions, from a centralized exchange at least, are being properly monitored. They can account for where money is going, and they're being transparent with their investors as well as their customers.
This guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, according to many journalists in the UK, including their current prime minister, who was the chancellor before, Rishi Sunak, he actually said, look, this FTX is like the Goldman Sachs of crypto, and this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, is like our Warren Buffett. Dan Casey, when you heard things like that, did you right away go, wait a minute here?
Yeah, and even Warren Buffett said, it's like rat poison, Bitcoin. That's how he compared it. So it's like, yeah, it's just a mess, and it's unfortunately it's bringing everything down.
But he's in jail now, right? In the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas.
And he wants to get out of there. He's fighting his extradition. He wants to stay in a Bahamas jail. I don't know about this.
I think
guy.
You'd rather be in the U.S. jail, right?
I would think so.
We're going to come back with final thoughts right after this. Stay with us. All right, let's get some final thoughts. We'll go to David. And David, you brought up the point in the first segment here. It's important to make sure that we don't conflate FTX and the controversy with cryptocurrency in general. That's important.
Here's what it comes down to. When you look at the adoption of new technology, there are 5 phases that you typically go through. You have innovators, you have early adopters, and on the tail end, you have skeptics. Looking back to 1903, when Ford Motor Company was established, there were people that said, the horse is going to be here, automobiles are a complete fad. There are always going to be skeptics. I think it's important to make sure that you do your research, you understand what you're investing in. It will allow you to make the best possible decision.
David Derajotis with Embroker. Good to see you. Thanks for your time today. Dan Casey.
And only invest what you're willing to lose, right?
That's right.
So yeah, so don't even think about it. That's how I've been doing it. I just like, it comes out of my checking account. I don't even see it. I can lose it if it goes down. And the problem too is like everybody, there was that FOMO, fear of missing out. When it got up to like $60,000 of shares, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to miss out, right? So everybody's jumping in, and of course at the exact wrong time, right? So it's just buyer beware, like any.
Did you make money?
No.
Did you make money?
You only lose money if you sell it.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And he's holding on to it right now, making sure.
It's less now, though. That's less now than when you bought it.
Well, it is important. Look, as we say, this isn't going anywhere. We know that it's going to be around for a while. If we just began to teach you a little bit about cryptocurrency tonight, we hope it helped you understand a little bit better. That does it for this edition of Let It Rip.